Hi, and welcome back to Pages and Projects with Liz. Today I have my July reading wrap up. This month I read 13 books, primarily Fairy Loot and Owl Crate books again. Just really trying to chip away and get more caught up. My goal is really to not be so far behind, get to where I maybe only have a month or two back pile of books for those subscriptions at a time. But that said, my ratings were kind of all over the place. Certainly some duds, quite a few 3-star books, some series that I don't intend on continuing on with, and then some series that I do plan on continuing on with and have already bought the next book in the series, even though I really should be getting caught up with some of my other series too. The first book I read was The Gods Below by Andrea Stewart. This was a Fairy Loot book, and I gave it 3 stars. In this book, we're in a world where there are periods of time where different regions get rehabbed. Some of the population disappears, some of the population gets transformed into a different kind of creature that fits what that new environment is like. So you've got siblings in here, they're separated at one of these events that's going on. This book I felt like had potential, and I think that's going to be a common thing for a lot of these 3 stars. I just really didn't love it. So with this, again, you've got gods fighting, you have different dynamics with the siblings and how what has happened to them shapes them. And it's just, I feel like some of the books that I didn't like, it was a lot easier to point out one specific thing that I didn't really enjoy about it. This one was just overall fine. There was nothing that really sucked me in enough to make me want to continue on with the series. I didn't particularly feel too drawn in with any of the characters, but it also wasn't terrible at the same time. So, I don't know. I really can't fully put my finger on what it was that I just didn't love about this book. And for some of these, it's also hard to remember parts of them, and that might be part of the issue. This wasn't the least memorable book, but again, there wasn't anything that just really stuck out to me in this. So overall, fine. Not gonna continue on reading this series. Next up, I have Starside by Alex Astor. This was also a Fairy Loot book and also one that I gave 3 stars to. This one, it was a little bit easier to really pinpoint what it was that I didn't love about it. In this book, you have a competition, and our female main character is trying to cross over to be able to attempt to kill one of the gods in basically payback for what happened to her village. So there was, an interesting dynamic with that, with having a competition. There's some different magical elements to it. She meets up with some characters and forms, allies with them. And I did enjoy those parts to it. Some of it was like slightly annoying, where she just kept making a lot of rash decisions that continued to cause issues. But the main things that bothered me in here were with the romantic aspects of it. Some of the ways that those incidents were described, just not my favorite thing, but just in general, some of the word choice was odd. When one of the characters dies, it's just very abrupt. And then they're dead and it doesn't seem to do much. But also descriptions where she's wading through water that goes up to the knees of the male character that she's with at the time, but is up to her waist. So, incredible height difference for your waist to be at someone else's knees. But later, when they're making out up against a wall, that seems to work out just fine. So, is there a huge height difference or is there not? And then also talking about trying to get friction rubbing up against something that was very smooth. So it was just a lot of these odd ways of describing certain things that, I don't know, it every time it popped up pulled me out of it. And so I think some of the other issues that I had with it, like again, the characters repeatedly making some really stupid decisions, I would have been okay with that. I don't expect characters to be perfect, and Lord knows there's a lot of people that don't learn their lesson the first time something happens. But those other pieces, like the height description in the water, just was enough that I couldn't get into it. And then the twist at the end, I feel like was fairly predictable where that was going to go. So this is one where I am not interested in following up with this series. And it is a shame because this is a really, really pretty version. So I do like the sprayed edges. I like the little metallic aspects to it. Like, it is just gorgeous, but certainly not for me. Next up, I have A Dance of Lies by Brittany Arena, and this is also Fairy Loot. This one I gave 4 stars to. So with this book, you have a dancer who's been falsely imprisoned. She is let out with the agreement that she becomes a spy. While she was in prison, she had injuries and so is not in the same physical shape to be able to dance at the level that she was before. But there's all sorts of ways that she works around that, and she works on making her performance more theatrical. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it. So you have a character who has these injuries, is kind of battling those chronic pain components, but also the mental health toll that that takes on you. And I enjoyed that there were references to that in this. This is another one that's in a series. It is one that I am interested in continuing on in the series. You know, certainly some of the moments predictable, some of the romantic aspects of it. But I enjoyed this one. So I was glad to finally have something that I liked after the previous 2 that were just okay. And yeah, again, looking forward to reading the next book in this. Next up, I have Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. This was also a Fairy Loot book and one that I gave 4 stars to. In this book, you primarily are focusing on this one woman. Her parents have passed away. Her sister is off traveling, and she is a student who has taken a class on urban myths and legends. So she's writing a thesis, majoring in this area, and her professor leaves the university. There's someone new that comes in, and just it sort of kicks off a sequence of events where she's trying to hunt something down in order to save her life. I think that's about what I can explain that would have been in the synopsis without trying to give away too much more. And this one I thought was really fun. I was cool having these different myths and legends for around this area. They're not necessarily tapping into big legends that everyone would know about. And so it was nice and creative. I thought the almost scavenger hunt aspect of it with trying to find the next places to go was really cool. And I enjoyed this book. This is one that it says it is a series. There's still nothing out about when the next book would come out, but I would read the next book in this. I think it ends at a good place where it doesn't 100% wrap up everything with a nice, neat bow. But you could be happy if this ends up actually being a standalone. But on Goodreads, at least, it says in theory there will be another book coming out as a follow-up to this. And again, would definitely continue to read that. Next up, I have The City of Stardust by Georgia Summers, another Fairy Loot book, another 3-star one. In this book, you have the character starts out as a young girl. She's part of a family that has a curse. Her mom goes missing, and it's basically find her mom to continue on with this curse or find a way of breaking it. So with this, you really have 2 different worlds. You have a school setting in one area, so people working on scholarship. And then you have, our normal world. And I don't know, again, this is another one that I felt like had a lot of potential, but I just didn't explore it enough. It felt very surface level at different parts. It was hard to fully visualize some of the different aspects of it. One of the worlds, I know that there was snow and then there were scholars, and it was just little bits and pieces, but not enough to, again, really pull me in. I didn't feel like, it was almost like there just wasn't enough urgency for the main character, even though if she didn't figure all of this out, there was going to be a significant cost to her. Even with her uncles, it just felt like they kept pushing things off for quite a while instead of, really trying to deal with it. There were also, I felt like, some mistakes with trusting different characters, especially after there were problems multiple times, so continuing to make the same mistakes over and over again without like a great reason for it. So it is another one where I feel like there was a lot of potential, but I wanted a bit more. Either focusing in on an area of it or delving more in depth and maybe making it longer or a bigger series than what it's doing. As it was, it was fine, but not super memorable. And another one that's kind of sad because, again, pretty version of it. Next up, I have The Last Starborn Seer by Venetia Constantine. This was another Fairy Loot book, and this one I gave 3 stars to also. So 3 star-named books, all very similar looking in 1 month. All 3 were 3 stars. So in this book, the female main character has some magic. So the Starborn magic, it's something that where she lives is not thought highly about, so a lot of people avoid her thinking that anyone who has been sister touched, I think it was sister touched, that there's a problem with that. She is going to be wed to someone that her father basically wants to install to help rule his kingdom. There's an issue that pops up that requires her to work with the neighboring kingdoms to try to help with the sickness. Her mom is sick, and so she's really taking off on this quest with these other characters around her same age from the other kingdoms to try to do something that would hopefully cure her mom. And this was another one that I thought had a lot of potential, but I just really got to a point where I disliked the main character a lot. So at first I was really rooting for her and some of the issues with her upbringing, and felt really sympathetic for her. And even at the end, some of the choices that she made, I kind of understand, but at the same time were just awful. You also have in this book animals as guardians, and I really don't like when anything bad happens to an animal. I can deal far better with something bad happening to a person in a book than a poor animal. And so something happened where I just ended up not caring about one of the characters in here related to that. Again, don't want to say anything else to spoil it because it is kind of a big piece of it, but it basically had me ending this book not caring about anyone in here, especially the person that you're supposed to want to care about. And I don't want to continue on in this book. At that point, I would have been okay if one of the characters in here just died as a result of their actions. So, again, another one where I'm not planning on continuing the series. Another one that is a disappointment because it is such a pretty book. Next up, I have Deathbringer by Sonia Tagliarini. This is a fairy loot book, and this one was a 4-star book. So in this book, you have, I guess maybe dark academia vibes. You've got magical school. People in that world either have magic or they don't. If they do, they're going off to the school. There's issues in the beginning where some of the students are being killed. You find out that some of the adults at different points have also been killed too, but one of the characters is the main female character's sister. And so she winds up having to go to the school and is trying to figure out what happened to her sister. I thought this one was really cute. I thought there was some good world building with this, with the different types of magic. There was some interesting character development. Again, it is some of the stuff a surprise with what character betrays who or the romance aspect. No, but I also didn't find anything that egregious with it or off-putting with the way that it was all written. So this I thought was really fun and for sure a book that I want to continue the series. Next up, I have The Scorpion and the Night Blossom by Emily Wanzhou. This was a Fairy Loot book and another 4-star book. In this book, you have demons roaming around. Our main character has been taking care of those for her village. Her mom isn't well, and so she's entering a competition to try to get something that will save her mom's life. It's a very grueling competition, and as it continues on, there are some different aspects that are supposed to make you think that maybe things aren't what they seem, that maybe the immortal realm isn't as perfect, and that there are issues brewing there too. This, I thought, was again really a fun read. Seems to be quite the theme with a lot of the fantasy books, with there being the competitions. Again, trying to read so many of them at once does blur it a little bit with trying to make sure that I fully remember what was in one book versus another. Because again, as you heard, several with competitions and immortals or gods or what have you. So this one, I really liked this version of it. This is a duology, and I have already purchased the second book for this. I ended up having to get the, I guess not really having to, but I got the Illumicrate version of this because the Fairy Loot second one, trying to get that second hand was way more expensive. So I guess that is one of the downsides of waiting so long to read some of these books. If I do like it enough to want to continue on in the series, and especially want to have matching books, I need to be reading these faster. Some of them I lucked out that the next book in the series just happened to still be available, or it was new enough. For some books, I don't necessarily care about the series enough that I want to have matching books, but this was one that I really liked and I did want to have a match. So again, can't wait to read the next book and see what happens to wrap this story up. Next, I have Donna the Firebird by Sarah Mughal Rana. This was a Fairy Loot book, and this one I gave 2 stars to, unfortunately. In this book, our character is the daughter of an emperor. She has been living with her mom's clan, though. There's an incident that happens causing the deaths of those clan members, and so she goes back to where her father lives, is trying to get him to respect her enough to want to give her a name, because she is nameless in the beginning of it. As part of what all transpires with this, she has some magic, and she ends up joining an enemy camp as a spy. I don't know. I really, really just didn't like it. I didn't like a lot of the pieces that happened at different points. I don't think it was very clear as to why certain characters' motivation would have been to do certain things. Like, I don't think it was developed enough for some of those parts. And I wanted more for some of the areas. And like, this was one where I felt like the world building was great. So in contrast with a different book that I complained about, I thought a lot of the different aspects of that were beautifully written, but the characters were kind of stagnant at different parts. Like, the plot seemed a little off. There were just such big shifts with what was going on, and then it seemed to lag, and then all of a sudden at one point I picked up again really quickly. And So just the pacing felt a little off. Some of the character design felt a little off, and it was a shame because again, the world building, the idea of the different magics and the three birds and everything, I thought that was really cool. Um, but 2 stars for me. Again, another one that I'm not planning on continuing the series. Next up, I have Wooing the Witch Queen by Stephanie Burgess. This was an Owl Crate book, and I gave this one 4 stars. This was one that I just thought was a cute little fantasy romance story. In this, you have our main male character is trying to escape where he lives. He winds up trying to beg mercy basically from the Witch Queen, and through some misunderstandings winds up working for her without her knowing who he actually is. I thought this was really cute. The plot was interesting. I liked that there were the 3 queens of villainy, and I just thought that the story was really sweet. There were some different moments with like poisonings and other things that, you know, it wasn't fluffy fun the whole entire time, but I thought it was great. This is one that I do want to read the rest of the books in the series. Next up, I have The Deathless One by Emma Hamm. This is an Owl Crate book, and this was another one that I gave 2 stars to. This is one that I wish that I had DNF'd. I kind of felt that way with the other 2-star book. This one was a lot earlier, and I just kept hoping that something would get better. With this, you start right away with one of the characters getting killed. You don't know much about her moving into it, and it just, I don't know, it didn't seem like a great setup. I was very bored. There wasn't like a whole lot of super memorable pieces. I found myself at different points reading through a page and then not fully remember or paying attention to what I had just read, and that's not really typical for me. Usually if I'm committed to reading something, I'm going to remember a lot of the details, even if I'm not crazy about a book. So this one was just so forgettable for a lot of it. And again, I had thought from the blurb that I would really like this, and I liked, you know, the design of the book with the skulls and everything, and I thought it would be a lot more interesting than it wound up being for me. I think one of my other issues with this book was it was another one where it was very insta-lust. That is certainly a thing that I'm not super crazy about, especially when the dynamics are set up where you're not really expecting that to happen. And this is another one that is part of a series. No intention of continuing this series. Next, I have Empire of AI, Dreams and Nightmares in Sam Altman's Open AI by Karen Howe. This book I gave 4 stars to. So this is a book that I read in different spurts throughout the month, so read a couple of chapters at a time. I thought that this was a really interesting book for going over Open AI in particular. So some of the chapters that we're talking about AI, generative AI, little bits of, bias and algorithm issues and all that, those were, again, at this point, really predictable. If you've been following along from my wrap-up videos, I've been reading a lot of AI books, this year related to my work. So that wasn't really that new. I did go over some different pieces about labor exploitation and environmental impacts, and those things I thought were interesting. It called out some different people that were involved in um, not content moderation, but similar kinds of tasks of needing to review a bunch of content. But unlike content moderation for like Facebook posts, some of these are AI generated to be able to see what could be created to help come up with filters, and the impact that that had on folks. Um, a lot of this, though, did deal with OpenAI, and then also, um, parting ways of some folks that then led also to Anthropic. So I thought that part was really cool, especially the mission drift. So I tabbed this one. The bulk of the tabs that I did for this that I think were the most interesting to bring into my classes were about that mission drift. And so what the ideal of OpenAI was and what they were trying to do, and their expectations versus then it becoming a very commercialized product. And so going from nonprofit to a more for-profit setup, but the way that they structured that to still have different areas working under different structures, I thought that was interesting. It goes over a lot to do with Sam Altman, and then him getting fired and then rehired, along with that mission drift. So I thought it was a really great overview of it. If you're looking for a book on AI that's not necessarily about just the potential negative impacts or just how the technology works, but really, while still addressing those, looking at the business aspect of it, and some of that like Silicon Valley hype and what gets funded and all of those pieces, I think this would be a really interesting read for that. Next, I have Midsummer Mysteries by Agatha Christie. This was another 4-star, just like the other one. So this, again, was my seasonal short story collection. I just have the fall or autumn one left. This was, again, really fun to read. It covers a variety of characters, going over little short mysteries. I enjoyed it. Similar to what I did last time after learning my lesson with the first one, I just read this a story or two at a time, and it was great. I think I, again, would have likely been burned out if I tried to read it all in one go, but it was great throughout the month to just read a story here or there, the same way that the AI book I did a chapter or two at a time spread out. If you like short story collections or Agatha Christie, I would recommend this series. It is, a really nice collection, and it does cover characters that are in a variety of other full-length novels. I am really excited to complete my last one and then start looking at, other Agatha Christie books. So going through some more of the full-length novels or exploring some of the different detectives more fully. I think I have the full Miss Marple collection, and I have a couple of Perot books. And the last book I read was Foul Days by Genoveva Domova, and this was also an Owl Crate book, I believe. Yes, an Owl Crate book. And this book I gave 4 stars to. So a nice end to the month with a couple of 4 stars in a row. With this book, you have a world where there is a wall separating two major cities. There are all sorts of beasts that come out after the new year on one side. The other side is a lot more colorful and easygoing because they don't have to deal with all of those monsters. In here, our main character is a witch. She has her soul taken, or not her soul, her shadow taken, which causes a shadow sickness, and she is on the hunt to try to get it back. So this, I thought, was, again, a really fun book. She's working with a detective. She doesn't necessarily want to be working with him at the beginning, but they create a good partnership. And this is another one where I think it dealt a little bit with some complex topics. So some trauma over things that had happened in the past, and I think it did a really good job going through that. I am definitely interested in reading the next book in this series. So overall for the month, a couple of series that I want to continue with, and quite a few also that I don't want to finish up with. But this one, I think there's one book after it. There might be a novella too, but definitely one other book, and I want to see where that's gonna go, because I think this one wrapped things up pretty well. So I'm very interested to see what they explore or deal with in the next book. So there you have it, the 13 books I read for the month of July. There were some real winners in here and some duds. I think I have about 14 other Owl Crate and Fairy Loot books that I've gotten from the subscription box. So not counting, if I bought a follow-up for one of the series. But I think about 14 books left. So I'm really hoping for August to be able to make more good progress. I feel like I would be better off if I just got comfortable DNFing, especially the 2 books that I wound up this month giving 2 stars to. I knew pretty early on I wasn't interested in it, and I spent so much time reading a book that did turn out to be a dud. On the off chance that I didn't find it to be a dud, I feel like it's especially hard to DNF one of the special editions because it just feels like such a waste of money. And I want to enjoy these, but we'll see. But I'm hoping to get closer to being fully caught up with those. I still have some book of the month or every night books, so certainly won't be able to catch up on everything by the end of August, but it would be nice to, again, be more current. I want to get to a point where I'm not reading a ton of these in 1 month, because I think that I will get burned out if I continue to do that. I have other books that I'd like to read, and so I'd like to have variety. But also I would like to, if I'm getting a subscription box book, read it within a month or 2 of it coming in. And I think that that would be a really good habit to go through moving forward. But I really want to get caught up with these older ones at the same time. And I will say the 14 number does include books that have come in this year for those subscriptions. So it's not just backlist books, it is some more current ones too. And some of the current ones I'm really, really excited and interested to read. So that's sort of my plan. I think I'm going to, like this month, take another month where I just sort of read and not try to set up a TBR. I think doing a TBR and playing the games was really helpful, and it was nice to add some variety, and I might do that again for some of the other months this year. But it was nice this month to just be able to try to work at some of these goals and make some progress with this. So that's sort of, I think, my plan for the month of August. We'll see how much reading I manage to get done. Summer is hard for reading, and especially for filming, with having a child and having her home and around a lot more. But I'm hopeful that if I focus, I can get through more. A lot of it's just been read instead of doom scroll on my phone, and that's probably better overall for my mental health, as well as working on my reading goals. To have this year focused a lot more of my time on that, not neglecting my other hobbies, but more so not scrolling through Reddit or sort of through Instagram or what have you. It's a little bit feels like a more productive hobby. So I would love to know what you read in the month of July. What was your favorite book? Did you read any of the books that I read? And did we have similar tastes or different tastes? I think it's always interesting to see where people vary. Like Starside, I didn't really love the romance aspect of it in some of those descriptions, and it just was kind of a dud for me. But I've seen some other people rave about that book. So, there's different books for everyone out there, and so I'd love to know your thoughts on any of these. And with that, thank you, and I will see you in my next video.